was that? Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. What was that? What was that? Oh my gosh. What was that? Boo!
Good Monday morning, everybody. Welcome to a spooky live stream here at the Jayda and Stitches show. Today, we're going to make this charming little character. This is our zombie bunny. He is one of the first little amigurumi we ever made a pattern for, and he is today's sneaky sale in our Etsy shop. Little zombie bunny. You'll find him up top, and Mr. InStitches will provide a link for you. The fun thing about this little character is that he only takes about 70 yards of yarn. You can use a size 4 medium weight. You can use a chunky weight, a size 5 if you like. I have that some of that here. You can do it in any color too. I made one in green a while ago. I've got one in a bright purple, or a bright pumpkin-y orange, I should say. Purple would be another great color. These are Halloween colors that I'm thinking of. And I mean, obviously, if a bunny is back from the dead, it might be any color but a regular color. So about 70 yards of yarn, any fiber's fine. I'm using acrylic. You want some scraps for his inner ear embroidery, his little tail, and you want a button, not two, because he's missing an eye, of course. Maybe some embroidery thread or just some very thin yarn to do a little bit of very simple embroidery. And a pair of scissors, yarn needle, stitch marker, sewing needle, or at least a needle you can get your embroidery floss through. Rita, thank you for picking up a pattern. And the hook we're using is a 7. You can also use a G6, which is a 4mm or 4.25mm if you're using like a medium size 4 weight. This is a 4.5mm. I'm using slightly bigger hook just because I'm using the 5 weight. Joanne, thanks for picking up a couple patterns. I want to thank Nico as well for gifting a membership before we got going. And Jamie, a re-welcome to Jamie for rejoining the family. Thank you guys so much. This little guy stands about 17 or 18 centimeters tall. That's about between 6 and 7 inches when he's sort of from feet to the top of his ears. I think he makes a great gift for some bunny on your list for Halloween. Or if you're like us and you live kind of out in the sticks, it's a really fun little scrap project, and then you can give them out at the door. I like to give out little toys, little crochet toys and crocheted goodies because we don't get a lot of kids. So I like to give out some fun things, and it's an excuse to make something. I love that, the little spirit of Halloween. So this little character is going to be going in somebody's treat bag next week. Goodness gracious. So here we go. We're going to get right into it. I've got a cup of coffee. Mr. InStitches is pushing buttons. We've got Barbara in the chat with a membership milestone. Barbara's been a member for 14 months. Thanks, Barbara. She says he is so cute. He is. He's creepy cute. All right. Let's get into it. So we're going to start with his head. I recommend that you keep your stitch marker handy. We don't need the embroidery floss or any of these little things just yet. I'll keep my scissors off to the side. You're also going to want a little stuffing. I should also mention that I just used scrap yarn to stuff him with. So you don't need anything too expensive or special. Michelle, thanks for picking up a pattern. And I'm going to grab my yarn and let's get going. Okay. So we're going to start with his head. There are a couple little pieces to this bunny, a little bit of sewing, but not much. And it's very, very basic sewing. You'll barely even see it. So if you're not so great at sewing, then this is a good project for you because the messier, the better. Remember, this little guy's back from the dead. So goodness gracious. Becca! Hello, Becca. Welcome to the family. Thank you for joining our family.
Renewal.
Is that a renewal? Welcome back then. I got my glasses on. I can barely. Thanks, Becca. Okay, here we go. We're going to start with a cinch circle. So we're going to cross our yarn to make a little loop, Hook goes through the loop, grab the yarn, chain 1, that secures our circle. Into the cinch circle, we are going to work 6 single crochets to begin. So 6 single crochet all worked into that little cinch circle. Grab the short tail, cinch it up nice and tight. There's no weaving in of tails in this little project. All tails just get tucked to the inside of whatever piece you're working on, so you don't have to crochet over top of anything. You don't have to weave anything in. It's all just, everything just gets pulled into the body eventually. Into the first stitch of row 1, we are working in the round, so we're not joining rows with a slip stitch. We are not chaining 1 to start a new row. We are just working continually in a spiral. We are going to work 2 single crochet into each stitch of row 1. So 6 single crochets in row 1, 2 single crochet in each of those stitches will bring us up to a stitch count of 12 at the end of row 2. I'm going to start employing my stitch marker. I've put it on the first stitch of row 2. That way I can turn my brain off and just focus on putting 2 single crochet in each stitch. It's all single crochet today. Single crochet, that's the only crochet stitch we're using. Maybe the odd little slip stitch, but basically it's just single crochet. All right, that's 12 single crochet at the end of row 2. Row 3, we're going to continue to increase. 2 single crochet into the next stitch to begin. I'm going to mark the first stitch with a stitch marker. And 1 single crochet into the next stitch. So your little pattern is 2, 1, 2, 1 all the way around. Hello, Melissa. I see you. Member for 14 months. Melissa says, I made it. This is adorable, but it's ghost season. I modified your little ghost pattern so I no longer have to sew it together. It's awesome. Oh, sweet. Is that the little one with the little skirt around the bottom? I'll have to see a photo. So 2 single crochet followed by 1 single crochet. 2, 1, 2, 1 all the way around. We're going to go up to 18 stitches at the end of row 3. And I love that stitch marker because I just have to worry about the little increase pattern and I don't have to count how many times I do it. It is done 6 times. All your increases and decreases are done 6 times in the head. But if you've got your stitch marker employed, you don't really have to do any extra counting. So that's the end of row 3. We're at 18 stitches. We're going to start row 4, another row of increase, the last row of increase, 2 single crochet into the next stitch to begin the row. Stitch marker is back on stitch number 1. Hi, Roseanne. Thanks for picking up a pattern. And a single crochet into each of the next 2 stitches. 2, 1, 1. 2, 1, 1, 2, 1, 1, etc. all the way back to the stitch marker, and we'll have a total of 24 stitches at the end of row 4. Get myself a little slack here. Last repeating sequence, 2 single crochet followed by 1 single crochet in each of the remaining 2 stitches. That's 24 stitches. I'm back to my stitch marker. Now we've got a single crochet straight for rows 5, 6, and 7. So 3 rows of just straight single crochet. Each row will have 24 stitches in it. I like to get the first 2 out of the way. I put my stitch marker in. That way I don't have to count. I just crochet. Single crochet in every stitch all the way around. Stitch count does not change from 24. And we're going to turn this little flat disc into a bit of a bowl shape. The fun thing about this little bunny is that he's got an extra big head, so he's very chibi-esque. This is one of my favorite little patterns. I love this little guy. I've made a lot of rabbits over the years because I just think they're cute and goofy, but this one I like because he's creepy cute. I love little Halloween goodies. Welcome, welcome if you're all just joining us. This is our creepy cute bunny, our little zombie bunny. He's back from the dead. He prefers candy, however, over brains. I think I should probably mention that. He's a candied carrots are his absolute favorite. So I'm working on rows 5, 6, and 7. They're just straight single crochet in each stitch all the way around, 24 stitches per row. And this is going to turn itself into a little bowl shape here. All right, that was row 6. One more row of straight single crochet for me. I'm going to get the first 2 stitches of row 7 squared away, put my stitch marker back in place, and off I go again. So this is row 7 I'm on. It's my last row of just straight single crochet. And at this point, you should definitely see this head turning into a bit of a bowl. And then we're going to start to do a little decreasing. If it isn't quite turning into a bowl on you, don't worry, the decreasing rows will do that for you. And the head is nice and big. It's bigger than the body because it's sort of, this is sort of a hallmark of chibi-esque little amigurumi or little toys. The head is bigger than the body, and that's what kind of makes it extra cute. So that's row 7 complete. Still 24 stitches at the end of every row. We are at the end of row 7. We are going to single crochet into each of the next 4 stitches. This isn't going to change our stitch count. It's just evening up the last of those straight rows so that we're more or less in alignment with where row 1 turns into row 2. And you can see that there, that little bump, that's row 2. We kind of want to be roughly in the same place to begin our decreasing. So for row 8, we are going to do the opposite of what we did in our last increase row. So that's my little short tail stuffed into the end there. We're going to single crochet 2 stitches together. You can do this by just picking up the front loops of each of the next 2 stitches and single crocheting, or the old school way where you pick up a loop in each of the next 2 stitches and single crochet. That becomes the first stitch of the row. I kind of like the old school method of single crocheting 2 stitches together when I'm using a chunky weight yarn because I feel like it fills in the space nicely. Single crochet each of the next 2 stitches normally, and then single crochet the next 2 stitches together. So we're doing a decrease and then a single crochet in each of the next 2 stitches, and then a decrease, which is single crochet 2 stitches together, and then a single crochet in each of the next 2 stitches. And you've done that 6 times by the time you get back to your stitch marker. And we go from 24 stitches at the end of row 7 to 18 stitches at the end of row 8. And it should definitely be sort of turning itself into a little bit of a bowling ball shape now. That's my last 2 single crochet in the row. So 18 stitches at the end of row 8. And it should look like, well, in this case, a little orange cauldron. I like the spooky references. Little sip of my coffee. All right, row 9 and the last row of the head. Here we go. It's a decrease row. We're going to work 2 single crochet together. So single crochet 2 stitches together. I'm going to put my stitch marker back in place there. That's the first stitch of row 9. Single crochet into the next stitch and repeat. Decrease or single crochet 2 stitches together, single crochet into the next stitch, single crochet 2 stitches together, single crochet into the next stitch. And that's the repeat. We go from 18 stitches at the end of row 8 to 12 stitches at the end of row 9. There we go. That's the end of row 9. You'll have a little opening that is 12 stitches around. You can slip stitch into the next stitch, and if you want, you can leave, so you definitely want to leave a long tail for sewing. So leave yourself a long tail, like, I don't know, 18 inches or so, 45 centimeters or such. Leave that for sewing because you're going to sew the head to the body a little while later. But you can add some stuffing now to your head. And I've just got some leftover yarn I'm going to use. I like to unravel the yarn a little bit, make it kind of loose, and then just sort of stuff it in. Masha! Hi, Masha! Masha with a super sticker. Ooh, and it's a black cat. Perfect! Thank you, Masha. Haha! Meow. That is really cute. Oh my gosh. How appropriate. This is such a nice way to use up leftover yarn, yarn scraps, bits of fabric too if you sew. Always keep like your salvaged ends or any of your really tiny little sewing scraps, and they make really nice stuffing for little projects like this as well. I don't want to overstuff my head. I think I'm getting to the end of it here. Yeah. I think I might get all of this in there. Let's see. Yeah, all right. Not too, I can still kind of squish the head around, so that's good. All right, so head is stuffed. Head can sit to the side. We're going to move on to the legs. So we're jumping from the head all the way down to the legs. We're going to make the legs separately, but they all get stitched. There's no sewing. The legs don't get sewn on. The legs just get built into the body, which is kind of a fun trick. So we're going to start again with a cinch circle. Crocus! Crocus also with the black cat. Thank you, Crocus. Meow. What a perfect little sticker. Thank you both. Leg number 1, we begin with a cinch circle, and into that cinch circle we crochet 8 single crochets. That's 8 single crochet, all worked into that little cinch circle, all worked over that short tail. Pull the tail nice and tight. And there's no joining of the rows. We're just working out in the round. We're going to do rows 2, 3, and 4, just single crochet in each stitch all the way around. So no increasing, no decreasing. You had 8 single crochet at the end of row 1. You'll have 8 single crochet at the ends of rows 2, 3, and 4. You can use your stitch marker to kind of keep track of your row ends, but if you are kind of a speedy crocheter or you like to count in your head, this is one of those little tiny pieces that you just basically count to 8 3 times, or count to 24 and you've done 3 full rows of single crochet in the round. We're not joining our rows, we're just continuing to single crochet in each stitch all the way around. I'm starting row 3 here. I'm going to keep my little stitch marker on the first stitch. Usually I don't bother with a stitch marker when I'm working on something this small, but since I'm chit-chatting with everybody, I don't want to lose track of where I am. So it is kind of nice to use the stitch marker. So that's the end of row 3. And then row 4. I can probably just count this one out. All right. So I'm going to take that little tail from the cinch circle and stuff it down into the leg. To double check my rows, I can look for row 1, which is the circle down here. I see where it turns into row 2. I can count 1, 2, 3, 4. I know I've done 4 rows. If I feel like it needs an extra stitch just to sort of even up the top of it, I can do that. This is leg number 1. It's only 4 rows tall, so you're going to slip stitch into the next stitch and fasten off. Goodness me, Joya! Welcome to the party, Joya. Thanks so much for picking up a pattern. There's no sewing of the legs, so you just fasten off and tuck that tail into the leg. That becomes a little bit of stuffing. Then you don't even have to stuff the leg. So that's leg number 1. Look how cute and tiny it is. It's just short. I love it. We're going to do exactly the same thing for leg number 2 now. Begin with a cinch circle. Over top of that short tail, you're going to work 8 single crochet. That's 8 single crochet. Grab the short tail, cinch it up nice and tight. No weaving in required, just let it sit to the back because it'll become stuffing on the inside like that. And then rows 2, 3, and 4, just like leg number 1, you're just going to single crochet in each stitch all the way around. So you'll still have 8 stitches. You're not joining your rows with a stitch marker, or I should say with a slip stitch, but you can mark the first stitch with a stitch marker if you feel that helps you keep track. The only difference with leg number 2 is that we are not fastening off at the end of row 4. So single crochet in each of those 8 stitches all the way around. That's row 2. That's row 3. One more row. I'm just going to keep that little tail now. Try to tuck it down in there. That's my first 2 stitches made.
Eva would like to know how often do you go yarn shopping?
How often do I go yarn shopping? Asks Vima. Hi, Vima. I have to say, not terribly often. I have a lot of yarn in the craft room that I keep trying to sort of use up. But every so often, if I'm short on a color, because I tend to use the same colors a lot, I might go out and get something. I might go out and get something if I've got a very specific pattern in mind, but really not that often. I'd say maybe on an average year, maybe 2 or 3 times. I might make one order at Len's Mill online, and then I might pop into like Michael's or Walmart and pick up a couple balls. But that's maybe like 2 or 3 times a year. Really not that much. I don't try not to do a whole lot of yarn shopping. I did pick up, we went to a fiber festival a little while ago, and I picked up some goodies. So if I go to something a little bit special, I'll try to get myself a little memento, like a really pretty ball of fancy yarn or a really fancy crochet hook or something like that. There's a small vlog coming soon actually about that. But typically I just, I try to use up what I've got. I try really, really hard. Ronald and Kathy Jones are in the house. Hello, cousins. How are you? With a super special super chat. Ronald and Kathy say, "Good morning, family. We love that bunny. Thank you. The green for the ears reminds me of a Frankenstein bunny. It's alive. Glad to be here, and good morning, everyone. Our week is wonderful when spending it with the InStitches. Well, we're glad you're here, too. And hello, hello from the Bunny Boo. One, two, three, four. Thank you very much, Ronald and Kathy. We're really glad that you guys are both here. And thank you for the support. Really appreciate it. Okay. That is rows 1, 2, 3, and 4 of the leg number 2. Now I'm going to take leg number 1, and I'm going to right where I sort of pulled off or fastened off, right under that little slip stitch there, I'm going to single crochet right into that spot. So I'm not fastening off leg number 2. I'm instead single crocheting directly into leg number 1. So you see that? I just single crocheted right into leg number 1, right over top of that place where I slip stitch to fasten off. Blah, blah, blah. Get my lips moving here. I'm going to put my stitch marker on that single crochet so I know that I'm looking at the front. And now I'm just going to single crochet in each stitch around leg number 1. I'm going to try to get that little tail out of the way. So single crochet in every single stitch all the way around leg number 1. And remember, there's 8 of them, but if you joined with a single crochet over top of that little slip stitch, you might see that there's a false stitch. It might look like there's 9. It's okay. You can use all 8. You can make 9 stitches in this, like working around this leg. And I say that because you don't want any spaces opening up between the 2 leg pieces. So wherever you see a stitch on that first leg, even if you don't think it's a real stitch, like this little slip stitch right here, I'm going to just work my hook into that, you can use it. And then you're going to do the same thing. You're going to continue to single crochet in each stitch all the way around leg number 2. So I'm going to put this back on just so I don't lose it. And single crochet in each stitch all the way around. So you'll have somewhere between 16 and 18 stitches at the end of row 5, and we are working on the body now. So we join the legs together in row 5, and we single crochet in each stitch all the way around both of those legs, and you'll have either 16 because you used 8 on either leg, 17 because you worked an extra stitch in there somewhere, or even 18 because you worked 2 extra stitches in there. That doesn't matter. Stitch count isn't important here. I heard a ding ding, and it's Melissa. Melissa, thank you for gifting a membership. Thank you so much. Congratulations, Shannon. Welcome back to the family. Shannon has won it. A little sip of coffee. I'll drink to that. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, that was row 5 of the body. The legs are now joined together. We're working on the body, and you can sort of see that here in my first one. You just do the legs, and then they are just joined directly into the body. So now rows 6, 7, 8, and 9 are just straight single crochet in each stitch all the way around. And I do recommend keeping a stitch marker on the stitch at the beginning, sort of the front, just so that A, you can keep track of how many rows you've done, like where the beginning is, and B, you'll know the front and the back. So I find sometimes when you're working around a piece like this, where you've joined legs together and now you're kind of working around and around, it can slowly get a little difficult to see where the beginning and the end, or the front and the back is. Now that's good because you want it to look rather seamless. But you also want to make sure that you have even rows and you don't accidentally do, like 3.5 rows or 4.5 rows. So I like to always put that stitch marker on the first stitch of the row so I know I've completed a whole row all the way around. That was row 6, 7, 8, and 9. 3 more rows to go. So I'm going to continue to keep a stitch marker at the front as I single crochet in each stitch all the way around. Regina I should say, wants to know if we can use this pattern to make other little critters. Of course! You could make a little bear with this character. You could make, well, I've made a little bear once before using this sort of method. I like this leg into body version as opposed to maybe making the body and then splitting for legs. I've done both. I like both, but this one I feel is kind of cute and fun because you can make the legs really, really short. That is row number 7. Starting row 8, I put my stitch marker back in. So I'm not even bothering to count how many stitches I have around. I know that it's either 16, 17, or 18. And the exact stitch count doesn't really matter. because we are going to do a little bit of decreasing, but it's decreasing by visual as opposed to decreasing by specific stitch count, which is another reason I like this little pattern, because it gives you some flexibility. All right, that was row number 8. One more row of just straight single crochet in each stitch all the way around for my little legs and body. I'm going to put my stitch marker back in place there. And then we will do a row of very minor decreasing just to sort of shape the body. What's all this discussion about adulting? That's like a bad word. No adulting. No adulting. No, yeah, it's like a swear word. No adulting here. Okay, that's row 9 of the body. I can take my little stitch marker out. So I know that I'm looking at the front. There's his 2 little legs. There's his body. His body might be a little on the potty side, which is perfectly fine because you want like maybe a chubbier little rabbit. And now we're going to do a row of decreasing. And when I say this is decreasing by visual rules as opposed to by specific stitch count, this is what I mean. So this is the front. We're going to start with a single crochet, 2 stitches together to begin row 10. I'm going to put my stitch marker back on. So that is a decrease, single crochet, 2 stitches together to begin row 10. Then you're going to single crochet in each stitch around to the side of the leg. So now you're looking at the side of the leg. You've got 2 stitches up here right at the side. You're going to single crochet those 2 stitches together. So that's the second decrease. Now you're going to single crochet around to the back. You're going to sort of size up where in the middle of the back the 2 middle stitches appear to be most in the middle. Single crochet the 2 stitches at the very back together. Single crochet in each stitch along to the side of the legs over here. I think I'll make these 2 the side ones. Single crochet 2 stitches together on the side, and then single crochet in whatever remaining stitches might be there. That is row 10. And now your stitch count will be down to either 12 to 14. You've made 4 evenly spaced decreases. That just helps shape the body. And you're down to 12, 13, or 14 stitches all the way around. Can I use a bulky size 6 yarn and what size hook? Asks Amanda. Great question. Yes, of course you can. It'll make him even chubbier. I would say, because you want tight stitches, if you're going to use a size 6, try it with a 5.5 millimeter, like an I9 hook to start. And if that is just too tight or too cumbersome, then go up to the 6 millimeter or the J hook. Try that with the with the Super 6 size bulky yarn. And if that's still too tight or too cumbersome, depending, I know how yarns can kind of all differ a little bit, then go up another half to like the K hook. I would try that. You want your stitches nice and tight. You don't want spaces in between. So whichever hook you can get the nice tight tension with without it being too difficult to crochet. And yes, and if you make one using size 6, Amanda, I need to see a picture because that would be so cute. All right. This is the end of the body. So you can, if you want to, single crochet into maybe the next stitch just to kind of even things off, and then slip stitch into the next stitch and fasten off. You do not need to leave any tail because there's no sewing to be done on this side. So just fasten off and tuck that tail into the body and stuff it from the legs up. Not a lot of stuffing. Nico, the gifting ninja is back. Thank you, Nico. Nico has gifted another membership. And Crystal, aka Chrissy, has won it. Congratulations, Chrissy. Welcome to the family. I've got little tiny bits of yarn. I'm just going to stuff one leg and then the other. And I don't want to stuff it too tightly. I kind of like him being a little on the squishy side. There we go. And then this can sort of sit in here. Yeah. Not too much stuffing. Maybe one smidgeny little bit left. There's a little bit of orange. I'll use some of that. I've got this bag of extra small scraps that could be used to crochet and could just be used to do things like stuff other little pieces. So there we go. All right, I have a head and I have a body, and it's gonna look like a little me, a little avatar me kind of like creature before we're finished. So if it looks funny like this, that's exactly what it's supposed to look like. The head is much bigger than the body. Let's go and make ourselves a couple of arms. So we're going to make 2 arms identical. These are very simple. Again, we're going to start with a cinch circle. And instead of 8, we're only doing 6 single crochet into the circle over the short tail. I hear the bing. Hello, Becky. Becky has been a member for 3 months. Thank you, Becky. Becky says, member for 3 months, a fan forever. Thank you, Becky. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I have to say, you know, it's the fall, so all this crochet, this is the time of year. If you love to crochet or knit or get busy with yarn in any way, man, this is our season. 6 single crochet into that little short tail, pull it nice and tight. No joining of the rows. You're just going to single crochet directly into the first stitch, and if it's tight, that's fine. I like a nice tight first stitch of the row. And rows 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 are just single crochet in each stitch all the way around. So you only have 6 stitches per row. Single crochet in each stitch all the way around, no increasing, no decreasing. Just 6 rows of 6 stitches of single crochet. And you'll see me kind of bending the shape like around my finger as I crochet. That's just to kind of shape the little arm into the right place. All right, that's the first 3 rows. I'm going to do the next 3 without using my stitch marker. I'm just going to count in my head to 18. And I'm going to try and stuff that little tail in while I work. It's squeaking. Can anybody else hear that? There we go. All right, that's row 4 complete. Ding, and Becky is back to gift a membership. Thank you so much, Becky. Congratulations, Alma. Welcome back to the family. Goodness me, and Martha too. Hi, Martha. Martha's also gifted a membership. Thank you so much, Martha. And congratulations, Shell. Welcome back, girl. If you get lost, if you're single crocheting around and around, just look down at the bottom for row 1. Look where row 1 turns into row 2 and just count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I've got 1 more row left to go in this little arm. Single crochet in each stitch all the way around. There's only 6 stitches per row. And I like to make sure that my last stitch ends up somewhere over top of that spot where row 1 turns into row 2. I just double count. And then we're going to slip stitch and fasten off. You're going to leave a long tail to sew the arm to the body with. I hear a ding. I see Nico. Nico, member for 21 months. Goodness me. Thank you so much, Nico. And Nico just chiming in with a membership milestone. Thank you so much, Nico. That's arm number 1. You're going to make number 2 identical. You don't have to stuff the arms. You can stuff them lightly if you want, but I kind of like them a little on the squishy side. So I typically just use whatever my little tail, that little tail from the cinch circle is. I use that as basically the only stuffing. So that's an arm. I'm going to put that right here. So what do we got so far? We've got a head. we've got a body, we've got an arm, and now we need a second arm. So cinch circle, 6 single crochet into the circle over top of that short tail. This begins arm number 2. I'm zipping along here since I've already done it once. Martha! Martha has been a member for 6 months. Martha with her membership milestone. Thank you, Martha. And a couple of emojis there. Family, family all the way. And just like arm number 1, we're going to single crochet in each stitch all the way around. There's only going to be 6 of them per row. We're going to single crochet in each stitch for 6 rows total. Goodness me. Amanda, thank you for picking up the pattern. Single crochet in every stitch around. And you can use your stitch marker if you feel it helps. You can count to 6 in your head. And if you get lost, you can just do that little counting trick where you look for the first row. Look for where row 1 turns into row 2. Count your rows up. Goodness me, Martha! Martha with a super chat too. Thank you, Martha. Goodness me. And more cute little emojis. Thank you, Martha. Thank you so much, you guys. We really appreciate it. This is a fun little pre-Halloween project. Has anyone else hung up their ghostly boo wall hangings yet? This is the Monday here. I'm in the process of reconfiguring all the Thanksgiving decorations into Halloween decorations. So my little mixed media ghost is going outside today. I'm going to switch him out with the pumpkin. All right, one of the things I like about these little mindless pieces is that I can just sort of start going crochet, 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 and then just to make sure, I think I might be coming up on my 6th row here. I'm just going to make sure my last single crochet of this particular row aligns with where row 1 turns into row 2. Goodness me, what is happening here? Hello, Shelly! Shelly's been a member for 71 months. Thank you so much, Shelly. With a membership milestone says, hi, I'm very late, but I made it. I can't wait to make that. There is no lateness. There is no adulting. This is crochet. If you show up now, that's perfect. If you show up later, that's perfect too. I'm just glad you're here. Glad you're here, Shelly. And Masha! Masha with a membership milestone as well. Masha's been a member for 7 months. Thank you so much, Masha. Masha says, we want to start a petition to bring back Mr. InStitches' voice to the streams. We miss him. Hope you overcome the mic issues soon. Aw. He's so happy back there munching on his snacks and not mumbling crumbly little messages into the microphone. 6 single crochet. So I've got 6 rows of my second arm done. I'm going to fasten off, leave a nice long tail so I can sew arm number 2 to the body. There we go. And I'm not going to bother stuffing. I have that little leftover tail tucked in the bottom. So there's arms 1 and 2. Still making nice little pieces. We're going to make the ears now. I love the ears. The ears are just what make this little guy. A little bit of simple embroidery, whip stitching with whatever your favorite zombie inner ear color might be. So I've got a head, a body, with 2 legs, 2 little arms. Let's make some ears. The ears are very similar to the arms. We're going to make a cinch circle. And into that circle, over top of the little short tail, we're going to single crochet 8. So we're starting with 8. They're a little bit wider than the ear, or the arms, I should say. All right, so cinch circle. 8 single crochet in the circle. Grab the short tail, cinch it up nice and tight. And just like every little piece before, we are not joining rows with a slip stitch. We are not chaining 1 to begin a new row. We're just single crocheting in an infinity spiral by working into the first stitch of the previous row. No increasing. We're just going to single crochet in each stitch all the way around for row 2. And that will be 8 stitches at the end of row 2. And you can use your stitch marker to keep track, or you can just sort of count in your head. And then I like to kind of start turning it over my finger so that I get the right shape happening. Rows 3, 4, 5, and 6 are also like row 2. You're just single crocheting in each stitch all the way around. So row 1, 8 stitches. Rows 2 through 6, 8 stitches each. So each row has 8 stitches. You're just single crocheting in a circle around and around and around. You don't have to worry about weaving in any short tails. That little tail is going to get stuffed into the inside of the ear. I can hear Mr. giggling.
Set up a very special pole.
Oh, you set up a pole. Oh, excellent. Okay.
It's the most important pole we've ever done.
Yeah, it's most important pole you've ever done, eh?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I'm still single crocheting in each stitch all the way around. I'm sort of foregoing the stitch marker just because it can be, when you're crocheting quickly and you're counting. So there I can see where I am. Here's row 1. Row 1 turns into row 2 right here. That means that that's the beginning and the end of every row. So I can count 1, 2, 3, 4. I've already done 4 rows. I have 2 more rows of just single crochet in each stitch all the way around left to go. And there's 8 stitches per row. This is ear number 1. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I've done 6 rows. I've got to put 1 more single crochet in there. So 6 rows of just straight single crochet. Each row has 8 stitches in it. Row 7, we're going to actually decrease a little bit. So to begin row 7 of the ear, we're going to single crochet the first 2 stitches together. We're going to single crochet into each of the next 2 stitches like normal. We're going to single crochet the next 2 stitches together. So there's 2 decreases. And then we're going to single crochet into the last 2 stitches as normal. So there's 2 decreases in row 7. We are now down to 6 single crochet all the way around, or 6 stitches all the way around. 1 more row, row 8, you're just going to single crochet in each stitch. So there's 6 stitches. You're going to single crochet in each of them. This just pinches the bottom of our ear ever so slightly. And then you can slip stitch into the last stitch or the next stitch to fasten off row 8. Leave a little bit of tail so you can sew the ear to the head. And like I said, the sewing is minimal here. It's really not that difficult. Maybe 3 or 4 stitches per piece. So that is ear number 1. I like to flatten it. That is my ear. I'm going to end up doing some embroidery here to put the inner ear in, but I want to make my second ear first before I do that. I'm just going to put this off to the side. And I'm going to make ear number 2. I'm going to take my yarn, make a cinch circle, chain 1 to secure it, and like ear number 1, 8 single crochet into that cinch circle. There we go. Grab the little short tail, cinch it up nice and tight, and now 6 rows of just straight single crochet in each stitch all the way around. Six rows of single crochet. Each row will have 8 stitches in it. And I'm going to get row 2 in, and then peel it back over my finger so I can get the right shape going. Double check that I've got 8 stitches here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh, I think I may have missed a stitch. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Here it is. 8. It's a tiny little tight stitch right at the beginning. It's all right. I don't mind tight stitches. Come here, you. Well, that one is in there good. All right. You know what? Forget it. I'm just going to put 2 stitches in the next stitch. So if that's too tight, I'll just start row 2 with 2 stitches. That way I'll make sure I have 8. So I'll still have 8 stitches at the end of row 2. I just bypassed the first stitch of row 1, which was just too tight to get my hook into, but it all works out the same. So I want to have 8 stitches in each row because I want this to be the same width around as my first ear. And that works out just peachy. So now I'm into row 3. And I will be stuffing that little short tail down into the ear momentarily. All right. So this little guy gets tucked in there. Shelly says, I hate it when that happens, Jayda. It's fine. You gotta be ready to crochet on the fly. If you feel like you missed a little tiny stitch, sometimes it's easier just to sneak one in. So rows 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 are just single crochet in each stitch all the way around. There are 8 stitches in each row. And I want to make sure it's as identical to my first ear as possible. I mean, he is a zombie bunny. So if the ears are a little bit wonky, that's okay too. And I'm going to just quickly count my rows when I get back around to the beginning. I know I'm at the beginning because I can look down and see where row 1 turned into row 2. And if I have my last stitch on or around that same place, I know I've done a full rotation. Count them up. Row 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's 6 rows. Row 7 is where I decrease. So I'm going to work the first 2 stitches of the row together. So single crochet 2 stitches together to begin row 7. Single crochet into each of the next 2 stitches. Single crochet the next 2 stitches together. And single crochet into the last 2 stitches. So down to 6 stitches at the end of row 7. Row 8 of the ear, the final row, just single crochet in each of those 6 stitches all the way around. There we go. And slip stitch to fasten off. Leave a little tail for sewing. That's ear number 2 made. And now let's do a little embroidery. Gonna make these ears look like actual ears. So I've got 2 little ears. I like to flatten them. Weep, weep. There's 2 little ears ready to go. I'm going to use this light green yarn for my inner ear piece. So for each ear, for the inner ear embroidery, I like to cut, I don't know, maybe about 60 centimeters or 2 feet, 24 inches of yarn. Thread up the yarn needle. I'm going to hold my ear. So I'm going to make sure that the little knot is to the back. And when I flatten my ear, the fasten off knot is at the back. I like that shape. I'm going to pick a couple of spaces between stitches. Insert needle inside the ear and then out through that space between stitches. So that way I know that I'm going to leave a little tail, and then I'm going to actually hold it with my thumb. Then I'm going to skip up here. I'm going to find the space like maybe a row or 2 down from the top. And now I'm going to run my needle between those 2 stitch spaces, or the spaces between stitches, like 6 or 7 times, however long I feel I need to. Not pulling too tightly, but making sure it's snug enough. I'm always going through the same 2 places, always going in the same direction. This is a whip stitch. It's a nice long whip stitch. And I'll do this maybe 6 times, 7 times, however many times I feel I need to make it like a nice thick looking color of ear. I think that was 6, so let's do 7. There we go. And then I like to run my needle under all of them and just kind of wiggle it back and forth. It sort of evens them out. There we go. If I feel that's enough, I'll put my needle back through the same place out the bottom. I'll tie those two ends together. And I maybe won't cut as much yarn on the second for the second ear. And if I want, I can trim it. So 2 little knots. I'll trim that. That'll go into my stash for stuffing. I'll stuff those little ends up into the ear. There we go. And now that's one ear complete and ready to sew onto the head momentarily. Let's do number 2. So I'm going to cut a little less than what I did the last time. And I'm going to try and do this exactly the same way. So, little knot to the back, flatten the ear, pick a couple of spaces, needle goes through the bottom and out through that first space, leave a little tail, hold it with my thumb so it doesn't go anywhere, and then I'm going to just run my needle between those 2 spots over and over and over again, as many times as I did the first one. So I think I did 6 or 7. So I'm going to do the same for the second ear, just so they look more or less the same. And one last one. So I know that's the last one. I'm going to just bring it right out the bottom. And I'm going to just even that out, squish up my ear a little bit. Knot those 2 ends together, trim. There we go. Another little scrap for the bin, and stick the ears up, or the tails up into the ear.
Sending the pole your way.
Okay, here comes the pull. Should Mr. InStitches set up the mic 60%, eat more snacks 32%, stay in the well 6%? So it looks like 32% of them are kind of on your side with the snacks. I think that's interesting.
Yeah, that's good. I'm reversing the poll though, so I'm going with 6% stay in the well.
6% stay in the well. Oh my gosh. All right. I'm going to grab some water, gang. I'll be back in just a couple of seconds. So I'm going to take a quick break here. I've got my head, it's stuffed. My body and the legs, it's stuffed. My 2 arms, not really any stuffing required in there. And I've got my 2 ears, again, no real stuffing required in there. Those are the pieces. I'm going to get some water, come back. We're going to assemble our little rabbit and put his face on. So I'll be back in a second. Oh, we're also going to make his tail. Give me a sec. I'm going to grab some water.
What was that? Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. What was that? What was that? Oh my gosh. What was that? Boo! What was that? Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. What was that? What was that? Oh my gosh. What was that? Boo!
And I'm back with a glass of water. All right, let's do a little construction, shall we? Here we go. We are going to connect his little head to his body first. So I'm going to get his ears and his arms out of the way. There is a long tail left on the head. We're going to thread that up. I like to connect where the yarn fastens off at the back of the head with where the yarn is fastened off on the front or back, doesn't really matter, that one side of the body. So I run my needle right through that same place just to get things started. And then, because your body might be a bit larger than the opening of the head, so I know the opening of my head is 12 stitches, your body might be 12, 13, or 14 stitches. So you might want to run your needle between 2 stitches. So the head, you're going to use the same stitch here on the head, and then also use the stitch next to that one on the body. You're going to do that using the same stitch on the head. Let me just make sure this is nice and snug. There we go. And you're going to do that again at the front. But for the most part, you're just going to pair up those stitches as you sort of run your yarn needle through first one stitch and then the next. So the next on the head, the next on the body. And eventually you can kind of put it together. And so for example, I'm going to bring this out through here. And I'm going to go just working my way around. Just making it nice and snug as I go. When I get around to the front, I want to make sure that I use the same stitch on the head again, and then I grab the stitch next to it on the front. So basically what you're doing is you're just sort of, you're making a 14 stitch opening fit a 12 stitch opening. And the whole thing is round, so you don't have to worry about it sort of spinning on you. And ultimately, you just don't want any spaces or gaps. That's it. So I'm coming around the back end. I've got like 3 stitches left to sort of stitch together here. And that is it. So head is attached to body. All the way around there, nice little whip stitching. You're just going to make a simple little knot. So I like to kind of run my yarn needle underneath a loop of a stitch and then through that loop and make it nice and tight. And then I think I'm going to run this into the body. Run the needle down through either the head or the body, it doesn't matter, whichever you think could use the extra stuffing. And then I like to try to grab it by wiggling my needle back and forth and just pulling what's left of that tail into the body. It becomes a little bit of extra stuffing. I don't have to weave it in underneath any stitches. And I don't have any waste from that little sewing thread. There we go. All right. Squishy little head, squishy little body. You can always squish it back into shape a little later on. So once his head is attached to his body, we're going to do his arms next. So this is where he goes from looking like kind of a strange little character to having a bit more of a shape because his little arms kind of even out the sides of his body. I'm going to thread up the tail on one of the arms, and I'm going to pinch the arm shut at the end so that the knot is to one side. Then I'm going to pick up my little rabbit. I'm going to look at the side of his body, and I'm going to basically pick like 2 stitches at the neck where the neck joins the body to attach it. So I'm going to just run my needle underneath a couple of, so both sides of the arm at the same time. Make that nice and tight. And then I'm going to go through like the same stitch on the body and then the next set of stitches on the arm, because again, I'm pinching an opening of that's roughly 3 stitches across on the arm to kind of pinch into the space of about 2 stitches across the side of the body. Now it doesn't have to be exact. You just basically want that arm attached at the neck at the side of the body. And wherever you get your needle through the body, make sure it's going into the body so that it's a nice firm attachment. If you feel like it needs it, you can go back and forth a couple times. Maybe run it out to the other side, put one more stitch through the arm, and then into the body and out the back through a space between stitches. Just let that sit there because you're going to do the other arm. And when you're finished sewing this arm on, you're going to take that tie, pull it through the same place so that we can knot them together and pull those little ties into the body so there's no weaving in. So same thing. I like to pinch the arm with the knot at the side, thread up that tail. And just a reminder, our little creepy cute zombie bunny is today's sneaky sale. So if you want to pick up a copy of this cute little pattern, it is one of our first ever amigurumi patterns. We recently refreshed it, and it's got lots of helpful little photographs in it. And it's a fun little amigurumi. I just think it's so stinking cute. I like Halloween stuff though. I'm a little biased. So again, I'm just trying to make sure that I sew this arm into roughly 2 stitches across, 2 stitches at the side of the body. And I can do as many or as few stitches as I feel it needs. For example, I think I'll go through the edge of this arm. There we go. And then I think I'm going to go into the body, back out over here, and I'm going to do one more, actually that's a little too far, go back over there. And I'm going to do one more little stitch through the edge of the arm. This is not a fine science. You just do what makes it look right and that makes it sort of feel like it's firmly attached. That's the most important thing. So there we go. I've got 2 arms now firmly attached. I brought both of the tails out through the same hole in the center back. So make sure they come out through the same place. Then you can tie them together nice and tight. You don't have to trim them. You just pull them into the body. And again, they act like a bit of stuffing. So I take that knot, I stuff it back through that hole into the body, and then I insert my hook and I try to just sort of grab it. And eventually you get it. There we go. And then you just wiggle your needle back and forth. I try to come at it from different directions. And eventually the whole thing will get pulled into the body. And if it feels like it's, you know, a bit stuck or you can't quite get it, you can always thread the yarn tails up in your yarn needle and pull them both in through that same hole into the body. But I find if you're patient enough, this way works pretty well too. There we go. A little extra stuffing. Okay, this is the part where you want to decide which is the front and which is the back of your little body. This is going to be my front. I'm going to stitch my ears facing forward now. Then we're going to make his little tail and we're going to do a little bit of face work and then we'll be done. So I like to look at the very top of the head. Here is row 1. That's that little tight spiral at the top. And I like to put his ears on either side of row 1 around the edge of row 2. So I thread up the tail. I make sure that my ear is facing forward. I dip my hook underneath the stitch post of a stitch on row 2. You can see there's row 1, there's row 2, and row 2 is circular. It goes all the way around. And then I just sew. So I'm squeezing the bottom of the ear together. I'm getting my needle through it. There we go. And then I'm sewing the whole ear roughly to the same little place. So I go through that little spot on the head again, and then through the next set of stitches on the ear, and then through that same little place, and then through the next set of stitches on the ear, which is kind of like the edge of it, and then through that same little place again. So the whole bottom of the ear is stitched basically into the same location. So you're pinching the bottom of the ear down to a small little spot. You can go through the bottom of the ear a couple times, however many times you feel. Again, you need it to be sewn down so that it's nice and snug. You don't want this ear coming off, especially if you're giving it as a gift. I'll go over here. And once you think it's in there nice and snug, same thing like we did with the arms, you're going to bring your needle out through a space between stitches on the back of the head. Leave that tail there because you're going to do the same thing with ear number 2. So, ear number 2, facing forward. Row 2 is over here. I want it to be more or less evenly across from my first ear on the same place. So I'm going to put my needle first right through here. There we go. And now I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to make sure I'm always kind of going through the bottom, both sides of the ear. And then through the same place on the head each time. So you can sort of see what I'm doing. I'm getting both sides of the ear, getting underneath the stitch on the edge of the ear, and then through the same place on the bottom, like through that head. And I will add a couple more stitches there to make sure it feels like it's securely fastened. Right through the ear. Same spot on the head. And then down and out through the same place as the previous tail. Knot the ends together and pull them into the body of the bunny. Christine, thank you for picking up a pattern. A very spooky thank you. I suppose that would be thank you. going to weave these little tails in. Okay. While I'm doing this, we're going to grab some different colored yarn for his little tail. So I've got twin zombie bunnies going on here. So I thought I might do the green again because I did his tail in green and I really liked how that looks. But I also have this sort of white orange stuff. So I'm trying to decide whether I'll do the same as green or the lighter orangey white tweed. What do you guys think? So just for reference, that's tail on bunny number 1. And this would be orange or green. Excuse me. Light orange, says Laurel. Hi, Laurel. Green, light orange. So we got light orange, orange, green. The melted creamsicle orange, says Charlie. I like the description there. That's very accurate. Love the orange, green, light orange. I'm seeing more for the light orange. Orange, orange. Masha says green. Green. Orange, light orange, orange. Okay, it's the orange.
Jayda, what's your absolute favorite Halloween season movie?
My absolute Beetlejuice.
Yeah?
Beetlejuice. I love Beetlejuice. I love Michael Keaton. I think he's phenomenal. And I just adore Beetlejuice. That's my favorite Goofy Halloween movie. But I also really love Bram Stoker's Dracula with Gary Oldman and as Dracula, because he's fantastic. I love spooky movies. I love Hocus Pocus. I love that one where the two are, I can never remember the name of it. The two are sisters. Nicole Kidman and Sandra Bullock are witchy sisters. I love that one. I just love all of it. Okay. Let's see here. That's the first one that jumps to mind, but I like a lot of spooky movies. We are going to make the tail. Practical Magic, thank you. I love that one. Practical Magic, yes.
Sleepy Hollow, the one with, what's his name?
With Johnny Depp.
Yeah.
Sleepy Hollow's excellent. We are going to take our yarn, make a cinch circle, and work 6 single crochet into that cinch circle over top of the short tail. This is for the tail of our little rabbit. So 6 single crochet into that little cinch circle. Cinch it up nice and tight. And rows 2 and 3 are just single crochet in each stitch all the way around. No increasing, no decreasing. Just 6 single crochet per row. Nice choice on the light orange, guys. I think this is really cute. Little creamsicle tail. Bend it back over my finger. And 1 more row of single crochet in each stitch all the way around. No increasing, no decreasing. So just 3 rows of 6 single crochet each. There we go. Maybe 1 more. Then you can fasten off and leave a tail for sewing. So really not that big a deal. You can, if you want, put a little bit of stuffing into that tail, but I find usually that the tail from the cinch circle is more than enough stuffage. And all you're going to do is just stitch it onto the back of his body. So, I'm going to get to the embroidery floss in a moment. Thread up the tail. Position it down on his little bum. And then just sew it right onto. I like to kind of get 1 stitch in. There we go. And then you can do this neat little thing where you run your needle in through 1 stitch and out through the other. So you're kind of grabbing the post. This sort of is a nice little way to cinch things down. I'm trying to keep my stitches in relatively the same place on the back of the bunny. And same thing, in through 1 stitch, out through the other. and then back down. So I'm really only going into and out of the body like 3 times. And then one more final stitch on the tail. You're kind of cinching the tail into a little spot. If you feel it needs to go, you need to go around again just to make sure that it's on there nice and snug, feel free to do that. Otherwise, you can make a little knot on the side of the tail. Again, I like to run my needle underneath a loop, create a loop, and then run my needle through that. That just gives me a nice little knot. I make sure it's nice and tight. And then I poke that into the body, bring my needle out through a space, and same thing. I just wiggle my needle back and forth, grabbing that little tail, and pull it into the body of Mr. Rabbit here. It acts like a little bit of stuffing, and there's no need to weave in any tails. There we go. All right. Okay, so his tail's on. Nice choice with the orange. And now he just needs his face. So here we go. You want a button. It doesn't have to be very big. I say this one's probably about 1 centimeter across, or like no bigger than 1/2 inch. You can add it to either side of the face. It doesn't have to have 4 holes. It can be a 2-hole button, but a 4-hole button is nice because then you can kind of get that little X going in the middle of the button. We're going to sew on the button, add a little X for the second eye, a little hollow triangle for his nose, and a little kind of Jack Skellington style stitched on smile. And we're going to do the whole thing in one go with one length of embroidery floss. So you need maybe, I'm going to say 60 centimeters. Again, that's 24 inches or so, just so you have enough. And you want a sewing needle that you can, with an eye large enough that you can get, see that eye there is nice and big, that you can get your embroidery floss through. If you don't have embroidery floss, you can use very thin yarn. If you don't have any thin yarn, then you can take some of the yarn that you do have, cut a length, and split it apart so that you've got, find the like the ply, like this is a 3-ply yarn. You can see the 3-ply. If I pull it apart enough, there we go. You can see that there's very obviously 3-ply that make up this yarn. Just pull, like cut yourself a length of 60 centimeters, unwind the yarn so that you have 1 ply, and that will be thick enough, about the same thickness as your embroidery floss. And then keep the other 2-ply handy in case you need more thin embroidery thread or yarn down the road. Thread up your needle. I'm going to come in through the back again between a couple stitches, and I'm going to bring my needle out roughly where I want. I think I'm going to put this eye on the other side. So he's going to go, I'm going to have, so they're going to be mirror image twins. Right about here. So about where I know the buttonhole. Nice and careful here so I don't poke myself. There we go. So right where I want, I'm not knotting the yarn. I'm just going to leave a little tail out to the back. And now the first thing I'm going to do is sew on my button because the whole face is based off of the button. And since we're using embroidery thread or embroidery floss, I really only need to, I'm going to go, so I'm going to pull that nice and snug, pull the other side out. There. So I like that position. I'm going to come up, since this is a 4-hole button, and I'm going to come out roughly in the same place that I did the first time. I'm going to sew this button down through all 4 holes twice. I'm going to try and always do the same pair. I'm making sure that I'm definitely getting my needle underneath the yarn so that I know that eye is firmly attached. And then when I know I'm about to make my last stitch, now I want to put on his little X for the eye. And I want the X to be right about, so right opposite the eye on the other side of the face. So I'm going to bring my needle to about where I want the top of one of the crosses of the X to sit. So I'm just going to pull that down. So there's his little eye on, and now I want this to look pretty much like that. So I make first one cross, and then I bring my needle, so I go down into the body where I want the bottom of that first cross to be. I bring my needle up to be opposite where that first one came out. Nico is still flying through the chat and gifting memberships. Thank you, Nico. Nico, our resident gifting ninja, thank you so much. And congratulations, Charlene. Charlene has won it. Thank you, Nico. That's the X. I'm going to bring my needle down to finish off that second pass, right basically opposite where the first one came out. And now, because I'm doing all of this at once, I'm going to do the nose next. The nose sits in the middle of the face and it's a little open triangle. So I'm going to bring my needle out somewhere right between, right there, right about between the two the two eye pieces. So there's a button for the eye, there's an X for the other eye, and I want the nose to be somewhat in the middle. So I can decide whether I want it to sort of sit up a little higher or to be down a little lower. And if I want it to go up a little higher, I can always just, if you want to redo something, put your needle back through the same place that you brought your yarn out. That way it disappears back into the body. And now I think I'll do a little triangle. So a little triangle worked over top of a single crochet stitch. So I'm going to go first down on an angle. Actually, I'm going to go this direction first. So down on an angle and back out through the top, not pulling too tightly. And then down on an angle in the other direction. And then out through the bottom of the first one. I'm just making a simple open triangle. And then I close it off by going back. Now before I do that though, I want to do the mouth. So I want to make sure I bring my needle out where I want the mouth to start. And I like the mouth to usually be kind of directly in alignment with the middle of the eyes. So about here. So that's the little nose finished off. So eye to the X. X leads right into the top of the nose. Nose gets finished. And then I bring my yarn or my needle out where I want my mouth to start. I bring it back in where I want it to finish. And then just out a little ways away because I'm going to do some little crosses over top of it. This doesn't have to be neat. I did about 5, I think, on the first rabbit. All you're doing is running your needle over top of that mouth stitch. They should be kind of wide. They should be sort of uneven. They should look a little messy, like the mouth was stitched shut. That's the typical zombie kind of look. Creepy. And this also helps to keep that longer mouthpiece in position. The stitches don't have to be even. Just try not to pull too tightly. And make as many as you want. There we go. So there's his little mouth stitched on. You can sort of see that there. With your last stitch, you're going to cross over that mouth and you're going to bring your needle all the way back through the head and out the same place that you brought it in the first time. So you're going to be really careful about this so you don't poke yourself. And you're angling to get it out in the same place. So there's his crooked little smile. And then you can tie those two ends together And because it's embroidery floss, I like to tie it a little tighter. There we go, because it's going through the head. Trim whatever's left. There we go. I'm going to put my sharp needle back in my little needle case so it's safe. And then same thing, just tuck that knot into the head, grab it with my yarn needle, and make sure it is fully brought into the head. Embroidery floss can sometimes be a little difficult to grab. There we go. And if at any time it seems to give you trouble, just bring your needle in through the same hole, thread it up, and pull it out. There we go. And it disappears. All right. 2 zombie bunnies. So they've got their little faces on, they've got their little tails on, and they're ready to go dead walk their way across the lawn on Halloween. Oh my gosh. Adorable. Holy cow. So I would like to thank everybody for spending a little extra time with us today. So we did a slightly longer than normal live stream, an hour and a half. Love it. This is our creepy cute zombie bunny. It's one of the first little amigurumi we ever designed. You'll find the pattern on sale. It's our sneaky sale today in the Etsy shop. And a big thank you to everybody who's picked up a copy of it, and everybody who does pick up a copy of it. We love to say thank you to you now, and we also always like to put a little thank you in our community tab, along with photographs. So keep an eye on the community tab over on our the YouTube homepage, because that's where we post all sorts of fun things, pictures, little thank yous, photographs from all of you. If you've got a photo, you can submit it to us at the Etsy shop. Just hit the Etsy shop link and click message seller, and you can attach a little photo that way. And we also post stuff there for subscribers and family members. So if you're a family member or a subscriber, make sure you pop in and check out that community tab fairly frequently, because we've always got a little something that we're posting there for fun. We also keep you updated on stuff that's coming. That is it for today's Monday live stream. I love these little guys. A little bit of fun, a little bit of spooky fun ahead of Halloween. So we will see you guys for sure on Friday, and possibly before. We'll see. We will see. It's that time of year, you know, all sorts of fun, cozy ideas pop into my head, and sometimes I just have to turn the camera on and film some of them. But until Friday for sure, stay safe, stay crafty, have an absolutely wonderful week. I hope the weather's as beautiful where you are as it is for us right now. And if you make something creepy cute, please feel free to share a photo of it with us at the Etsy shop. Mr. InStitches, anything you'd like to add?
I'm just going to end a little poll before we go.
Okay. Your favorite Halloween candy, chocolate, wins with 66% of the vote. Sweet candy with 12%, sour candy with 11%, chips with 9%. Well, now I just want all 4, I have to say. I do like chocolate. I do like sweet candy. I really like sour candy, but I think chips are my favorite. I'm a salt over sweet person typically. But you know what? Honestly, I'll take any of it. All right, we will see you guys soon here on the Jayda InStitches show. Thank you so much for hanging out with us and for joining us for a live spooky cute crochet along. And have a wonderful week, everybody. Bye.